Hey, Steve with HomeStrong Fitness here. We're going to go through a full body workout today. This full body workout is going to be built in supersets. So what that means is you're going to have two exercises that you do one after the other, then go back to the first one after the other for each of the sets. We're going to do 4 sets of each superset. We're going to do what I like to call the 80, 90, 100, 100 max rep failure. What I mean by that, the first exercise, the first set is going to be basically a warm-up. You get to the point where you feel like some fatigue coming on, but you don't go to absolute failure on that first set. It's going to get you limbered up, ready for the subsequent sets. The next set, you're going to go and go and go until maybe you feel like you can push out 1 or 2 more and then stop. And then on the final 2 sets, you're going to go to completion until you can't do anymore, complete muscle failure. The great thing with HomeStrong system is that with the resistance bands, you can work yourself up to a failure where a full failure might not be a full rep. You might only be able to get partial movement in that rep, but you're still going until you just have nothing left in the tank. So that's going to be your 100% failure point. It's going to vary for everybody depending on the band that you use, the stretch that you use, things like that. I like to keep the reps between the 12 to 20 rep set. Sounds like a lot. But one of the things with HomeStrong is you're going to be working a lot of ancillary muscles that you're not used to in traditional weightlifting, where if you're just using a barbell or something like that, the forces are linear and directional. This, as you get used to the system, you're going to feel a lot more muscle movement, things trying to pull your hands in different directions. So you're really working a lot of different muscles. That rep range I find works fantastic. You can absolutely go heavier, go with more resistance on the bands, get yourself to maybe where you can only do 3 or 4 reps. If you're ever doing that really heavy rep type of a day, that's okay. But for your typical sets where you're going to go through this, knock this out, and we'll see about 30 minutes or so here, that rep range is great. It's going to give you a great exercise. Okay, the first superset that we're going to do is going to be with a squat and a seated row. So I'll show you real quick how to set up the equipment and get those exercises moving. So you're going to take your bar, you're going to hook your carabiners to the loops of the bar, then you're going to take whatever band you find is appropriate, you're going to go through the lowest hook, thread it around that, and over the second hook. Pull that snug, get your band straight, and hook that in to the carabiner. That'll be the starting position for the squat. Then take the next band that you're going to use for your seated lat row. I like to go to the 4th hook, hook it over that 5th hook there, and then I'll hook the band up there so it's out of the way while I'm doing the squat. Then we'll go ahead and start the superset. So with the squat, probably the most awkward exercise that you're going to have with a HomeStrong system. It's going to take a little getting used to. I'll show you the positioning, how I set my feet, how I adjust the resistance, and then how I go through the movement. Traditional squats are going to be very linear up and down, but because this has a forward angle to the resistance, you're actually going to be pushing yourself back against that resistance a little bit throughout that workout. So put the bar on this 3rd from the bottom loop hook. Get your feet set, shoulder width apart, squat down, then you lift the bar up and put it in a comfortable position over your shoulders. Then stand up. I find typically that I need to take a couple of small steps back so that I have enough resistance. Keep your chin up and go through the squat movement. One more little step back. Twelfth rep here on the first set. Find where you're feeling fatigue-wise. And if you're warmed up, go ahead and complete the set. I've done a warm-up set, and my second set, So I'm gonna go to failure, but on a squat, you wanna be cautious. Obviously, doing this by yourself, you don't have a spotter. And when you get to failure on your squats, you're feeling a real burn in your quads. And I can safely step forward, lower myself down, and set the bar back on the rack. Okay, superset, back to back into the next exercise. Okay, on this, we're doing a lat row. We'll be pulling back. I have a step-up box here that I use, but you can use an egg crate. You could use Home Depot bucket, paint bucket, something like that. Get you a little bit elevated off the floor so that the linear movement is coming back towards your chest. You can also do it off the floor. You get a little bit of interference with those bottom bands. So I set the box. I actually cross over, grabbing the right strap with my left hand and vice versa. Sit down on your box. You should have good tension on the bands at your full extension point. Keep your back nice and straight, and then pull those elbows against your sides and back until you get a full pull. Keeping the head up and those shoulders back. You really want to feel it burning right there in the lats, under the armpits. Slow, steady, good pulls. Once again, if you need a little more resistance, you can always push yourself back a little bit. Just get that little bit extra stretch. Really pushing those elbows back along the sides and flexing right there on the sides of your back, under the armpits. You'll really feel that burn. Once again, this is my third set. I would have stopped by now if it was my first warm-up set. Maybe about now. If it was my second set, I think I got 2 more. Good and fatigued. Like I said, you can pull it all the way, or for full failure, you don't get that full stretch, you've really exhausted the muscle there. So that is your first superset. All right, and on to set 2. So with set 2, superset 2, we're gonna do a handle chest press. I'm gonna show you 2 variations on that, and then an abdominal crunch right after the chest press. So for the example I'm gonna show, I'm gonna do it with a bench, but if you don't have a bench that you can use, a variation that you can do is a standing press. So you're gonna take your handle you got with the HomeStrong system and your carabiner, the band, about at chest height, go through that loop hook, up all the way to the top. I find that I actually need a little bit more stretch on it. You could possibly use a different band. I bring it back down and put it back over under that hook. It gets it a good distance for me. Take a step forward. Imagine that you have one in each hand. You're putting pressure on it, leaning forward, you got resistance there, and then you're gonna do a chest press. Push that hand straight out. Make sure your shoulders are rolled back. Don't concave your shoulders, keep them back. You're gonna do the same on the bench. Keep your chest forward, and that will be the movement. All right, to set it up for the traditional bench, you're gonna go through the bottom loop hook and bring it up to the third. And then just set that handle on the ground. Now, for a bench press on HomeStrong, since once again it's not a vertical linear resistance, it's back, put your bench at an incline position. When you're in an incline position, that line of resistance then is going to be perpendicular to your chest. So put it at about a 30-degree angle, center that bench. Also, you can move your bench further forward or back to increase that resistance. I find that I need it about 1.5 to 2 feet off of the wall. Reach down and grab each handle. Go into the press position. Once again, shoulders back, and you're pressing straight out in front of you. As I go through these, I'll let you know that with HomeStrong, in this one position, you can do variants of a press that you can't do at the gym without changing machines. So right now, I'm doing a traditional press variant, where I'm going straight forward. Say I want to do an incline. Just change that angle where you're pushing your hands. Go into an incline plane. Now you're working more of the upper chest, where the straight forward is working more of the entire chest. Or you want to go into a decline, press down. Press those hands over your navel. You're going to get that lower pec region. Or you can mix it up and do all three in one exercise to get a really great burn through your entire chest. But always keeping those shoulders rolled back activates more of your chest muscle than your shoulders. Okay, there's our chest press. Now, the next set in the superset is going to be an ab crunch. For me, I find that the 2 black bands works great. You can mix it up however you want. Put it through the horizontal loop hook and to that top loop hook on the vertical. You're gonna grab it with your hands in this position. Hit your knees, those bands behind your head. Kind of lock your forearms to the side of your head, and then crunch till your elbows just about touch the floor. Keeping that belly button sucked in, pressing it towards your spine. Your hips locked. You don't want to be moving your rear end back and forth. Lock those hips as much as you can, suck in that belly, and push those elbows to the ground. Here we go, superset number 2. Okay, and now for superset number 3, we're going to do a standing hamstring curl and a standing tricep extension. So with a hamstring curl, what you're going to do is get your ankle cuff that came with HomeStrong and one of your carabiners, both your carabiners, obviously one for each leg, and put those ankle cuffs on. Get that carabiner through both of the cuff hooks, and take one of your bands, put it through the bottom loop hook and up to the third. Same on both sides. Put both ankle cuffs on. Okay, have both cuffs, one on each ankle. Attach each of those to corresponding band on each side. All right, once you've done that, I use the bar for stability because you're going to want to get yourself back a little bit. So obviously you're going to want to pull you forward, so you can use that bar to stabilize yourself. What you'll do is get to a point where you can bring your legs together, lock those knees together, use that bar to stabilize yourself, and then what you're going to do is curl that leg back, keeping those knees locked together. And then you'll obviously alternate sides for the complete set. can switch it up, lock those knees together, keeping your balance. One thing in this exercise you can do is use variations of pointing your toe. If you point your toe down or out, you find that the exercise is more difficult. It's isolating more of that inner hamstring. And then as it gets harder, curl your toes up. It incorporates more of the muscle. You can force out a few more reps. All right, and then we're gonna go into a standing tricep extension. Now I found that this purple band works good for me, but if it's just stretched straight across, it doesn't have quite enough resistance. So what I do is add some resistance by pulling it back to that next hook. Great thing with this is with the different bands and different resistances, you can play with it by attaching it at different points to increase that stretch, increase the resistance. So no need to disconnect the ankles because you're still in a good spot. Take the handles, connect them. You can loop the band directly through the handle loops and just have the D-rings for the handles over the band as well if you don't have an extra set of carabiners. So from this position, let's do a traditional tricep extension. Once again, keep back straight, shoulders back. Don't hunch over too much. You should always keep your head up, looking forward. And keep those elbows very stationary at your side. Don't let yourself do one of these numbers where you're using your lats and your shoulders, traps. Lock those elbows in. Press down through that movement. Okay, and there's superset number 3. On to our final superset number 4. Superset number 4 is going to be a shoulder Y press variant. I'll show you the Y press while we're doing the exercise, and a standing bicep curl. All right, for this, once again, you're going to find the appropriate band that works for this exercise. Try a couple out, find out what works best. You're going to loop that from one side to the other. Once again, based on your height and also the resistance you need, you can move that up a couple or down a couple to increase that resistance. I'm going to go ahead and prepare for the standing bicep curl now that I have this in place. So you're going to take your handle and your carabiner connected to your band. You're going to hook it under that first band. Also loop it behind the band that you just put on there for the shoulder press, and then over that third hook. That way, that's locked in, the two don't interfere with each other. Most importantly, that red band doesn't push that back black band off while you're doing that exercise, because now it's behind it, kind of locking it into place. All right, so that's all set up for the next exercise. So what you'll do, step inside of that band that's looped from side to side. Get your hands about at hips distance, shoulders width apart. Kind of press that up to the chest position. And then not only will you press up in this exercise, but to give it that Y, you press out. You're gonna really feel that outward press incorporates a lot more of your deltoid in it than just pressing up, which sometimes can incorporate more chest as well. This really gets a full deltoid burn in there. Once again, a little variation of the HomeStrong you don't get with traditional weights, because you're working so many of those support deltoid muscles across this range of movement versus that linear up and down gravitational pull that you get with a dumbbell or barbell. outward press. You feel it burning your front delts, those side delts. Really get screaming as you go through this exercise. Okay, step out of those. Go to your bicep curl, grab each of your handles. This bicep curl, you can do it in a back position, straight up, traditional like this. I like to find that step forward, arms behind you, keeping those elbows behind you as you do the curl in this fashion, this direction. Adjust your feet a little bit to adjust that resistance. Elbows behind your back are going to work that long head of the bicep more specifically. And there are variations that you can do of a preacher curl or that traditional curl with your arms to your side or in front of you. You're going to work that short bicep head. This one really puts the emphasis on the long head of the bicep as I stutter my way through that set. So this is the last set, guys. Hopefully you found that this is a nice full body workout from your HomeStrong. Give you a great workout. We'll have many, many more variations, full body workouts, upper body, lower body splits, push-pull days. We're gonna have a ton of workouts for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this.